Hey folks, welcome to Al Puglisi Trains, home of train greatness, home of keeping it real with trains. Well folks, I'm at Jim Brewer's house. Now, Jim Brewer has a 3,000 square foot model railroad of the Shenandoah Valley, Shenandoah, Virginia, Norfolk and Western, many of the historic towns, many of the historic places, modeled from photographs, scratch built from photographs. It is a historical representation of this magnificent area of our country. And this is a fantastic story because Jim has to move. And he didn't want to cut the layout up. He didn't want to take part of the layout and move and make a new layout using parts of this layout. He wanted to donate it. Guess what? We found a club, a group of people, model railroaders, historians. Where are they from? They're from the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. God works in mysterious ways, folks. Okay? It's a miracle because this club I happened to run into, they lost their space in Winchester, Virginia, and they were moving to Middletown, Virginia, and they were having a big train station replica being built by the town, and they needed a layout to put in it. And Jim donated this layout to those folks. And I'm going to introduce you to those folks that are here today, beginning to take apart, surgically remove this layout as best as possible to preserve as much of it as possible, and to preserve and try and not cut it up to the point where it's lost, but to try to maintain as much possible of its magnificent scenes. Let me show you a few. Folks, the scenery on Jim's layout's breathtaking. Now, you can go to my playlist. Click on my playlist and go to layout visits. Click on Jim Brewer's layout because I have 4 other videos of this layout. And I'll have a link at the end of the tape you can click on to see the videos of this layout. But the beauty behind this is there are some enormous scenes. This was a rock quarry scene at one time that was absolutely spectacular. And guess what? It still will be absolutely spectacular because the club has surgically removed it, and they are going to save this entire peninsula and put it back into their new building. They're not going to use part of it. They're not going to just use the rock quarry. They're going to save as much as possible from the very end of it there all the way back because they have an enormous space in the club that they're going to fill. Now, how do you take something like this apart and move it? Well, you do it very carefully, folks. It can be done. And a lot of common sense things need to be addressed. First of all, don't worry about the track. Track can always be relayed. Don't worry about wiring. Wiring can always be redone. When you remove sections of a model railroad, you want to do it. You don't want to cut right down the middle of a stream or a lake if you can avoid it. You want to keep as much as possible intact. Well, if you make cut lines through trees, for example, well, when you piece it back together, you can hide those cut lines with trees, so you never know it was cut or spliced. And that's exactly what the club is going to be doing when they surgically take this thing apart and put it back together again. Now, is it going to be exactly the way it was? No, but it's going to look incredible, and it's going to live on versus the alternative, which would be complete disassembly and complete loss of a magnificent work of art. Some large structures that are sturdy are being bubble wrapped. All are labeled. All have paperwork and photographs to go with them. And all of these are being carefully removed and bubble wrapped so that they can live on in their next locations. Trees, all will be saved. Telephone poles, rock castings, the scenery, all will be surgically removed and reassembled. Now, obviously, the track plan is going to need to be modified. Obviously, there's going to be sections of this layout that might be double-deckered because of space limitations. But the whole point of this is to keep as much together as possible so that when the club goes to their new location, scenes such as this can be put back together exactly the way they were, or as closest to the way they were before they were moved, so they can live on with the splendor they once had. Again, it's obvious that some things may not make it, and it's obvious that some things are, obviously it can't be exactly reproduced because their space is different. But again, the way that they're dismantling this, the way that they're taking it apart, the way that they're surgically doing this is incredibly impressive to me. And their plans to put it in the new location, it's going to live on, and the flavor of this layout will not be destroyed. Again, large scenes like this, the club is going to attempt to keep together as much as possible. And I'm going to introduce you to the president and some of the members, and we'll talk to Jim as well. And I can tell you with confidence that I am sure that when they get done with this, it is going to be absolutely breathtaking. And this viscose plant's going to live on, folks. And if you go to my channel and you watch the videos I've done of this, I've got night videos, I've got day videos, I've got multiple videos. And this viscose plant is going to be taken apart and reassembled, and it is going to live on in the new location. Now let's go talk to some of the members that are doing this. Well, folks, I'm with my friend Jeff, and I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to let Jeff talk and let him explain who they are and what they're doing. So let me get out of the picture. Let me get my big fat head out of the picture here. So let me pause it, and we'll go talk to Jeff. All right, Jeff, what's your first and last name?
My name's Jeff Jordan.
Okay.
And I'm the president of the Winchester and Middletown Model Railroad Association.
Okay.
We reorganized a number of years ago into a 501c3 organization. We're recognized by the IRS as a charitable educational organization.
Okay.
And for a number of years, we've been busy since we lost our spectacular old layout in Winchester.
Right.
We have been operating a modular model railroad and set up principally in and around the Middletown area. And after much planning and a lot of good fortune, we connected with the town of Middletown,
right,
which had acquired some property where their historic railroad station had once stood until the 1960s.
Okay.
And the mayor had the vision of this land that they had acquired, which they had saved from home development, which would have been really too much for the town of Middletown, which is a very small town. And so the mayor and the town acquired this property and wanted to turn it into parkland. But then they realized that they had acquired basically the place where the town's train station had stood. Right. And there are some terrific photographs of the station going back to 1906. And so they wanted to recreate that station. And they invited us, they knew our story of having lost our home in Winchester, and asked us, would you guys be interested in moving to Middletown and partnering with us to rebuild the station? And folks, we're going to do a separate video where Jeff, you're going to show me the station. Yes, absolutely.
And you also have a Facebook page. What's that Facebook page?
Winchester and Middletown Model Railroad.
Okay. Now, you guys were the Winchester Model Railroad Club.
Correct.
Okay.
But when we relocated to Middletown, we wanted to keep our Winchester brand because the club has existed in one form or another since 1980.
Right.
And so everybody knows us by that name. So we kept Winchester in our name, but added Middletown to recognize our new home.
You know, folks, God works in mysterious ways. Like I've said it before, you guys were over, and you were there, visiting Howard Zane's layout.
Correct.
And I remember, you guys told me you were from Winchester Model Railroad Club. Oh, my brother lives in Winchester. And then I think Larry Orndorff, who we showed his layout on the channel.
Yes.
If you have a layout, I'd like to feature that too.
Okay, it's not nearly as impressive as Larry's, but yeah, I do have an ON30 layout based upon Colorado narrow gauge.
Okay, but anyway, these guys were telling me the same story. You know, we lost I said, well, what's going on with the Winchester? Because I visit my brother, and I see this vacant railroad station over there. I said, what's going on? Oh, we lost, but we got a new station going up. And we've got to come up with a plan. We got to come up with a new layout. And then I asked you guys, what are you guys trying to do? Well, we want to preserve the history, because I think you already said, or maybe you didn't.
Our charter is actually to model railroads in the Shenandoah Valley and to explain, as an educational institution, the importance of railroads to the development of the Shenandoah Valley.
Yes.
And to model a significant piece of the Shenandoah Valley railroad system.
Right. And when I heard that, a light bulb went off in my head, because Jim Brewer, who built this, is so gracious. He said to me, I'm moving out of state. I don't want to take parts of the layout. If I do another layout where I move, I want to start fresh. I don't want to take pieces. God, I pray to the Lord, I hope we can find a club that can just take the whole thing. And I couldn't believe this. And I went back and I talked to Jim, and then I went through Larry, and I guess Larry went through you.
Yes.
And kaboom, the whole thing happened. Jim actually is donating it to you guys. And you guys are doing an incredible surgical job at taking this thing apart. And kind of tell us how you're going to put it back together real quick.
I'll also note that we're kind of fortunate as one of the most prominent clubs in the northern Shenandoah Valley. We get a lot of inquiries from people who need to dispose of layouts. Several times a year, we disassemble layouts. So we actually have some skill at sectioning layouts, preserving sections of layouts, and so forth. And so now this is the great granddaughter of those jobs with such a large layout. But we are very carefully planning. We have our new location has a 2,100 square foot exhibition hall, unobstructed. And so we have been drawing plans that show how we can configure this layout into the 2,100 square feet we have to work with. And as I mentioned, we are going to double deck our new layout. So portions of this may end up on the second level, but it will fit in the space with the reconfigured, because we have a large rectangle. This is obviously not a large rectangle, so we have to reshape it a bit. But we really have identified sections of the layout that are truly iconic. The American viscous plant is amazing. I mean, articles have been written about that point out that plant is larger than many people's model railroad. It's 18 feet long and 9 feet wide.
And I'm going to pause the video real quick and walk over to that plant. And folks, like it was on my part 1. I did a part 2. I did a part 3. I'll have the links below. But let me go look at that plant real quick. Well, this is the viscous plant. And folks, like I said, I've done videos of this layout before. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 views. I've got videos of this plant lit up. I'll have it in the link. But they're going to disassemble this. And I'm going to show you folks something, because there's only one entry and one exit to this entire 3,000 square foot room. And it's up this flight of stairs. There is no auxiliary door, there is no cargo door, there is no secondary door. There is this flight of stairs that goes straight outside, and everything you see inside there is going to have to come up through this stairway. Stay tuned to the channel and you can see how it's done. Here are a couple buildings that are being wrapped and bubble wrapped. These are the more sturdy ones and aren't so delicate. Jeff, let's talk about this roundhouse here.
This is many of the locations on this layout are reproductions of actual locations in the Shenandoah Valley. The American viscous plant, as you saw, the town of Luray, the town of Stanley, and here the town of Shenandoah, which Norfolk and Western fans would recognize as the location of the shops in the Shenandoah Valley. And what you're seeing here is part of the town of Shenandoah, which we've begun to disassemble, and the locomotive shops here with the large roundhouse and turntable.
Now, Jim, what's interesting is Jim never actually finished this. You're looking at this as a work in progress.
Correct.
And I don't know whether, and we're going to interview Jim probably at a later time or maybe on this tape, depending on what he gets back or not. But so I don't know whether he was going to leave it open so people can see in it or whether he was going to put a roof on it. You guys are probably going to leave it open.
Yes, we've discussed putting it near the front of the layout and leaving it open so that we can display steam locomotives in there, and you'll be able to look in through the top and see the steam locomotives lined up inside.
Wow.
And that one of the elements of this story is this layout's been under construction for nearly 40 years.
Right, right.
And that Jim has had the assistance of a number of very good friends who did some extraordinarily good modeling.
Yes.
Unfortunately, some of them have passed on.
Yes.
And so, it's really a tribute to these folks that we're preserving their work.
Yes.
And are going to make it publicly available in our new location, which will be, exhibition hall with the model railroad and an adjacent museum with real railroad artifacts as well.
This is huge because, folks, we're caretakers for this stuff, temporary.
Exactly.
I get contacted by families all the time, and it's not the amount of money you get for something. It's the fact that I want my husband or my mother or my friends, my dear friend, I want their work to live on. I want it to go to somebody who's passionate. I want it to go to somebody like when I was 13 years old and got into hobby, and I found some incredible model railroaders that gave me built up fine scale miniatures kits. I still have them because it lit the fire under me that never went out. And it meant so much to me. And I mean, just the fact that this area is so dear to you guys, this is just a dream come true. It really is a miracle.
And we've been around for 46 years. And we now have a very, very long-term lease with the town. So hopefully it'll be around for another 46 years or more in a publicly available venue in a really neat reproduction of the railroad station in Middletown, just off of the original footprint of the original building. And then with our big exhibition hall added on the back, it's going to become, and it's intended to be, a new attraction in the town of Middletown.
Right.
And surrounded by parkland. It's really going to be a feature for the town of Middletown.
And we can't really give a date on, when all this is going to be done. The station is not even going to be ready till what, this winter?
The station structure is complete. The interior is under construction. We are doing most of the interior work ourselves. We're blessed to have a number of very skilled members, including a professional electrician.
Larry Orndorff, one of them. Yep.
A professional carpenter who had more than 20 years experience building sets in Hollywood.
Right.
And is a very skilled carpenter. And just a number of other members who come and help almost on a daily basis. And so we have pulled wires, installed boxes, have most of the wiring done, have most of the HVAC installed.
Right.
And we're getting to the point where we're going to, start getting insulation and drywall. We're aiming for late this year, the building will have a grand opening.
Right, and then once the building grand opening is done, then this layout can begin. You're harvesting the buildings, the vehicles, the people, some trees, some scenery. That can be bench work.
Sections of bench work.
Right,
yeah.
that's when that all starts going in.
Yes, we're fortunate again. We have a place. Jim, number one, is permitting us to keep the segments here for some time.
Okay.
But then after that, we have now located a place where we can store layout components before they go into the exhibition hall, so that we can finish the hall, have it painted, have a new floor put down,
right,
and so forth, and then move in and start assembling it. And we're literally right now begun to work on how we reassemble this in our new space, the configuration.
Wow. Okay, Jeff, this is one of the sections you haven't gotten to yet.
Yep, this is South Shenandoah.
Wow. Wow. And you're going to try and keep that together as best
Yes.
possible.
Yes. Many of the structures on this layout are actual reproductions of the location. There was a member or a friend of Jim's who went around to many of the locations, photographed and modeled the structures. Over 70% of these structures are scratch built.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
they are accurate. And one of our delights is when somebody walks around and looks at this and says,
I live
"I've
there.
been there." Yeah.
My grandfather. This is where I grew up. One of your club members here today came up to me and said, "I worked at this viscose plant."
That's correct.
Oh my Lord! All right, let me give you another couple glimpses. And again, folks, if you want to see this layout before it was disassembled, it's in my playlist, Jim Brewer's layout. I'll have a link at the top of the video. It'll pop up. I'll have a link at the bottom so you can see more. Let me show you just a few more spots.
Actually,
And Jeff, it's so important that one of the guys you were talking about that this experience with theater sets.
yes.
That is so incredibly important when you guys do this. I'd like to interview him.
He's a tremendous model railroader.
Yeah, that is. He have a layout too that
Under construction.
Under construction, but I can interview him about some of the
absolutely.
points
Absolutely.
that he can give in doing this, because there's some folks watching that they may be interested in, they have to move and they want the layout to go with them, and maybe they can get some pointers on how to do that.
He's a tremendous asset to us on these kinds of things. Yes.
Just amazing. And I'll show you one more thing that Jeff was talking about.
Yeah, every building we've removed has gotten a unique number and letter.
Yep. This is ST9 area here. Everything's being lettered. Everything is being photographed. Everything's being documented for the move. And folks, while I'm doing this, let me give you a little bit of information about the club. Winchester and Middletown Model Railroad Association. There's their Facebook, Winchester Model Railroad, their email, everything right there. And they're always looking for new members. Now they're in the Winchester, Middletown, Virginia area. So if you're interested in possibly joining this club, you can contact them. And stay tuned to the channel. We'll interview Jim Brewer, who had to step out to get us pizza. He's kind enough to be buying pizza for us today. So we'll get some interviews with Jim. And I'm going to take you along on the journey of how this thing is being moved. And I'll give you a visit to the train station in Middletown, Virginia. All coming up on Al Puglisi Trains. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and every time I post, you're getting notified. Thanks so much for watching.